today we're going to find out just how far I can upgrade this $100 Dell XPS. And if you haven't watched the original video, I highly recommend it. It was a very capable gaming machine for just $100. But today you're coming to see just how far we can upgrade this. And for the most part, this machine is very capable as is, but we're going to throw in an even more powerful graphics card. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the Dell XPS. And for me, the Dell XPS is one of the prettier lines from Dell. Compared to the Optiplex, I think this XPS looks pretty great. It's nice and shiny on the outside, and it has a very great I/O selection, with plenty of ports to go around on the front, including an SD card reader and lots of USB-Cs and USB-As, which makes sense as Dell Optiplexes are usually more targeted towards businesses, schools, and office computers, while the XPS line is more targeted at your standard consumers. And the Dell XPS line is definitely easier to repair and upgrade, especially with this one coming with an awesome little swing open arm that houses the power supply. And as you can see, when we open it up, it comes with an awesome little graphics card, specifically the GTX 1650, which really packs a punch for what it is. But we are going to be ditching that for the better RTX 5060. And you may be asking, Ray, how are you going to power this? The RTX 5060 requires an 8-pin connector. And boom, I present you another awesome feature of the Dell XPS line. We have an 8-pin connector and a 6-pin connector that comes standard with this machine. We'll go ahead and easily plug in that 8-pin connector, and we're off to the races. And now we have a very capable 1440p machine, or do we? We'll find out in the benchmarks. But for now, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the rest of the system. For the CPU, we have the very capable i7-9700. Which has 8 cores, 8 threads, a base clock of 3 GHz, and a max turbo clock all the way up to 4.7 GHz, with a 12 MB L3 cache. This will be plenty of CPU power, especially because we're aiming for 1440p and even 4K. And to support this CPU, we have 4 8GB sticks of DDR4 memory running at 2400 megatransfers. So this is going to be more than enough RAM for this system, and it already came with this in the original $100 price tag, so that's extra awesome. Now before we dig into the graphics card, I want to go ahead and thank today's channel sponsor, Twingate. Now, if you didn't know, my actual full-time job is a sysadmin for a tech company, so this sponsorship aligns very well with me and my values. Every time you onboard a third-party IT vendor, do you give them full VPN access? Because if so, that is a significant risk you do not have to take. And in the security world, a VPN is all or nothing. If a vendor gets compromised, they have a key to your whole network, not just the system that they were supposed to touch. Twingate scopes vendor access to exactly the resource they need. Revoke at the moment the engagement ends, and there's no lingering credentials. Zero trust for third parties, no changes to your existing infrastructure, and an audit trail of every connection. And if you want to find out more about Twingate, go ahead and check out the link down in the description. I just want to thank each and every one of you for your constant support. Hopefully someday I can turn this into a full-time thing. All I think about is making videos for you guys, and I really do appreciate the support. Go show Twingate some love, especially for taking a chance on a smaller YouTuber like myself. Now let's get back into the video and take a look at our graphics card. And at first, when I was picking what graphics card, I was leaning more towards the RTX A2000 with 12 gigs of VRAM, and it packs quite a punch, or the RTX 3050. But then I had that aha moment and I remembered that the Dell XPS has a 6-pin connector and an 8-pin, so we can totally use the RTX 5060. Now, a lot of people out there don't have a very good opinion of the RTX 5060, and it's totally justified. I mean, this graphics card at least needs 12 gigs of VRAM. As you'll see, we weren't able to push any games to 4K, but at 1440p it wasn't too bad. But we're leaving a lot on the table with the 8 gigs of VRAM. Now, what makes this specific RTX 5060 really cool to me is the low profile configuration. You can pick these up for a pretty reasonable price, especially on AliExpress. I saw this one for $260 and I just had to pick it up. Now, the RTX 5060 has 3,840 CUDA cores, 30 ray tracing cores, 120 tensor cores, and a base clock of 2.28 GHz, with a boost all the way up to 2.5 GHz. Now, it unfortunately, like I mentioned, has 8 gigs of GDDR7 memory. So with that said, let's go ahead and find out just how good this computer does with an RTX 5060 upgrade. The first game we're going to be taking a look at is Forza Horizon 6, and this is running on the high plus ray tracing preset at 1440p. And we ended up with a very reasonable 54 FPS average, so you could definitely increase the graphics even further if you're okay with a 30 FPS experience. Or if you want over 60, you can lower the resolution or lower the graphics. So Forza Horizon 6 runs really good on this, and we're not seeing any sort of bottleneck even at the CPU level. Next up we have Fatekeeper running on the Ultra preset at 1440p, and this game just looks absolutely gorgeous. We got an average of 30 FPS, so totally playable as long as you're okay with 30 FPS. And if you're new around here, I'm pretty much known for my 30 FPS is okay take. A lot of people are not okay with that in the comment section, and a lot of people are okay with it. So let me know down below, is 30 FPS playable for you? Because for me, it's totally playable in single players, but when it comes to FPS and other games, I'm going to want to see more than 60 FPS. Now, Fatekeeper is a very graphically intense game, but it's honestly pretty well optimized at the same time. If you want to play Fatekeeper on this setup, you totally can. Here we have Lego Batman running at 1440p on the Epic preset. It's pretty rare that you'll see me turn this on, but I had to turn on DLSS just to get this to run above 30 FPS. It was totally unplayable, but we're using DLSS balanced. If only Nvidia would have just given us 4 gigs of extra VRAM, this would be a totally playable experience, but unfortunately we have to use their garbage AI features. But we did end up seeing an average of 44 FPS instead of the 26 that we got without DLSS enabled. Next up we have Cyberpunk 2077 running on the medium ray tracing preset, again at 1440p. And looking back at this, I really should have enabled DLSS to increase the frame rates to a much more playable experience. Now we ended up with an average of 32, but in game you're going to see more like 25, so you're going to have to drop the graphics settings to get a more playable experience. While this game is a few years old at this point, it's still a very difficult game to run, especially with ray tracing enabled. And again, with some more VRAM, I'm sure we get way more FPS. Next up, we've got BeamNG running on the Ultra preset at 1440p, and we saw an average of 74 FPS. And if you wanted to, you could run this game on the Ultra preset at 4K and probably see around 40 to 50 FPS. Now when you get some more NPCs on here and some other things, you're probably going to see a much lower frame rate, but for just driving around, crashing into things, and dinking off, you're going to get a very enjoyable experience. Here we have Half-Life 2 RTX running at 1440p, and we were seeing well above 100 FPS. Now Half-Life 2 RTX isn't a full Half-Life 2 remake, but it's still a very great visual representation of what Half-Life 2 would look like with ray tracing enabled. So if you were wanting to play Half-Life 2 RTX on a 5060, you will have a pretty great time. Now I'd like to point out, when we got to this area with a bunch of fire, we did see a pretty severe frame drop, nothing crazy, but we were still well above 60 FPS. Taking a look at our graders, we got an average of 39 FPS, and we were running this on the cinematic preset with ray tracing set to medium, again at 1440p, and this game is very well optimized and plays great on this machine. So if you're wanting to play ARC Raiders on a $100 machine with an RTX 5060, you totally can. This will kick absolute butt at 1080p and 1440p. Now for Grand Theft Auto 5 Enhanced Edition, we saw an average of 61 FPS, and this is running at the maximum ray tracing preset at 1440p again. It's crazy how demanding Grand Theft Auto 5 Enhanced Edition can be, especially when you have these settings fully maxed out. However, in actual gameplay, we're seeing more like 60 to 70, which is much more playable than the benchmark shows. However, if you're wanting more frames, that's the beauty of PC gaming. You can always drop the resolution, you can always drop textures, whatever you want, you can get it to. Now, one of my favorite titles, we have Mount & Blade Bannerlord 2, running at 1440p on the very high preset. And this one was kind of weird. We saw an average CPU FPS of 140 and an average GPU FPS of 193. I could not for the life of me get MSI Afterburner to work on this, so I can't really know exactly what's going on, but I'd like to assume we're suffering from a CPU bottleneck. Now, I did end up doing a 200 versus 200 battle, and I didn't see any sort of stuttering issues, and it actually ran very smooth for me. However, if you do use this setup, do keep that in mind, you may see some issues. Here we have Arma Reforger, another great title that I highly recommend checking out. And we're running this at 1440p on the Ultra preset. And on this title, we got a very reasonable average of 39 FPS. Now, this is a first-person shooter, but if I'm playing this in a single-player campaign, like I'm showing in the background footage, 30 FPS is very reasonable. And this game is going to run pretty rough anyways, even if you have these settings at low. So might as well have this game look gorgeous and run smoothly. Now that concludes our benchmarks. Were you guys impressed by that? Would you want to chase for something like this? Or would you rather use a different graphics card with that 8-pin connector? This PC for me perfectly represents one of my favorite things that go into PC gaming. You don't have to have the latest and greatest tech and the flashiest computer to have a great experience playing video games. All you really need is an office PC and a graphics card, and you're on your way to play some great titles. Even if that's a lower end office PC with a lower end graphics card, there's so many titles like pre-2020, 2015 that can run on pretty much every computer that are very enjoyable. A huge thank you to Twingate for sponsoring this video. If you guys can go show them some love, that would really mean a lot to me. And again, thank you guys as well for allowing me to have this opportunity. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and check out the card in the middle of your screen. I'm sure you'll enjoy that video as well. Thank you guys.